Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about networking here. So we're kind of talking about clubs. We're talking about, reaching out to professionals. As a
Yeah.
professional, I get a lot of contact with students a lot. And also industry professionals, people that have been in the industry for, between, I don't know, 1 and 5 years, and also people that have been in for 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
So I think one of the key pieces, so again, as a club mentality, is teaching students the soft skills of like interviewing, but also like how do you contact professionals? And I think the majority of people would be shocked when you get like a bad one because most people understand the basics. And I think the basic format that I like to see is somebody reaches out and says like, A, how do you know me? So most people know me right through like YouTube or
Yeah.
LinkedIn or something and say, hey, I saw your profile, whatever. So kind of like an introduction to how you know me. And then the next piece would be like, I understand you're really busy. So trying to be empathetic with professionals. And then finally asking your question like, what about this information, or can you do an informational interview, or can you tell me a little bit about this company, for example, and then thank them for their time at the end. And yet I don't see this structure very often, but I think that's why a lot of people say they reach out and then they never get feedback.
Yeah.
And part of it's the quant side. I mean, I think students don't realize. So I never realized as a student that like I would email someone and think like, oh, it only takes them, a couple minutes to respond.
Yeah, why wouldn't they do it? They're happy to help so many kids. I've seen people literally say, people are literally dying to help out young professionals, and unfortunately, that's not true. People are busy. Like that's the fact of the matter, and you have to have that empathy when you reach out. So
Yeah, I think there's also a clustering problem. So when you find
yeah,
people that are really good quality resources, right? Everybody
yeah,
wants their advice. And so it's like they're slammed and they don't have the time. And then
yeah,
I also feel like there's a ton of, we'll call industry professionals in general that want to help, but it's like you don't have a track record, you haven't accomplished anything great. And so I think a
yeah,
lot of these people are like on that spectrum of like they all want to help you, but they don't have no one's asking them.
yeah,
But I think you also have to judge that as a student contacting people of who do you contact, and that makes a big difference because if you contact, I don't know, say you reach out to me and you're asking about, I don't know, investment banking, like that's great. But I mean, I don't work in investment banking. So
investment
I,
banking. Yeah.
yeah, I can't give you that personal perspective.
I think like the way I like to think about it is um, it really boils down to three components, and that is to me research, empathy, and respect. If you
Okay.
have those three things, and it's a very human thing, right? If you just copy and paste that format for sending a message every time, and let's say you get a couple successes, whatever responses, eventually your personality will take over in the conversation. And if you don't have one of those three components, it will be evident. So it's a very much, if you want to build your networking, build your personality. And it's very important to admit that no one's personality is perfect. We all have those negative components of us, and everyone's a work in progress in a sense. But the research is really important so that you, one, don't make that investment banking mistake, for example. You don't completely misgauge the person. Two, you're demonstrating curiosity. Like that is one of the largest things someone on the other side want to see. They don't want to see someone who's gaming the system, getting all these advantages for them, not actually curious about, say, the math or the computer science or whatever it is. So you have to demonstrate that. And that requires you going a couple extra miles and, for example, looking at alternative definitions of the concept or whatever it be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really important on the research part. The empathy part is you have to understand this person owes you absolutely nothing.
Right.
Right? This
Right.
person owes, even you and your YouTube channel, it is charity work, right? By that measure. You owe someone, they don't owe you anything, right? And their time is definitely valuable. That's how you would want to be treated. So keep that in mind. Sometimes you don't need to push and push and push because it might have effects that you don't know about on the other side, right? Even if they're the most well-off person, you don't know, right? So in the end, that empathy aspect is important. And then respect is just people constantly forget how how easy it is to come across arrogant or overconfident in some of your statements. So humans tend to bet too much. For example, they have too high of a confidence rating on certain statements or whatnot, and being humble in the sense that you don't know everything and whatnot, you're genuinely asking to learn, right, is very important. So those individuals who are constantly asking for confirmation bias, like, hey, is this right? Is this right? And then you respond, no, it's not really right. But hey, is this right if this happens, if this happens? And you keep conditioning and conditioning until you get a check mark, and then yes, it's possible. And the fact is the other side is trying to give you not an outlier, but a statistically significant response for what the situation is.